Is it because you're the hardest worker on the team that you're always getting assigned work? Or is it just because you can't say no? Actually, we all wonder why we can't say no. Sometimes, certain people on a team start taking on more responsibilities without even realizing it. They're the first ones who come to mind when overtime is mentioned. This is usually no coincidence, but most of the time, it's not about being the best worker either. A quieter process is at work. Over time, people learn who won't object. And it gets to a point where no one even asks anymore. But don't worry, there are ways to break this cycle and redraw your boundaries, but before you get there, you need to understand how the system brought you to this point. For example, imagine this moment. It's an hour before you leave on Friday afternoon. You're just about to head out. A notification pops up. There's an urgent task that needs to be done by Monday. Is there anyone who can help? The message is visible to everyone. Everyone sees it, but no one responds. There's a brief silence. And there's something odd about that silence. It's as if the person who would answer was already known, because in some teams who will say yes isn't discussed, but it's known. And most of the time, that person isn't the most available one. They're simply the one who says no the least. Because within the team, they're seen as the one who doesn't object, accepts responsibility. In organizational psychology, this is called learned dependence. So the boss learns over time who will easily say yes, and tasks go directly to that person every time. The first time you were given extra work, you accepted it. The work was completed on time, and the boss was pleased. The boss noticed this. Giving tasks to this person works. When the next extra task comes along, only one name comes to the boss's mind, the person who will handle this most reliably. And most of the time, that person is you. And that's exactly why you've now been labeled as the person who takes on extra work. There's also a simpler side to this situation. When an urgent task comes up, no one wants to take a risk. It seems like the question is, who will do it? But what's really being asked is, who will definitely do it? And that's where the past comes into play. Some people sometimes accept, sometimes say they're busy, sometimes postpone the task. Others, however, take whatever comes their way and get it done. That's why the decision is made very quickly, because the issue is no longer who's available, but who's reliable. And at that point, the direction of the extra work hardly ever changes. Another situation is learned helplessness. Sometimes extra work comes your way because you're already expecting it. At first, you actually try. When you say, I'm busy right now, the response is usually, I know, but this is urgent. I trust you. And the matter is closed again. After a while, you realize, even if you object, the outcome doesn't change. From that point on, something shifts. You no longer object. You just accept it. This closely resembles what's called learned helplessness in psychology. In other words, a person stops trying when they believe they can't change the outcome. Over time, it's not just about habit anymore. It turns into a story you've created about yourself. I'm a hardworking person. I'm a reliable person. These are powerful things, but at a certain point, they make it hard to set boundaries, because the moment you say no, it feels like you're betraying that identity. And without realizing it, this thought takes root. If I'm this kind of person, I have to accept this. Here's the critical part. It's no longer just about external demands, it's the standards you set for yourself. And after a while, something else creeps in. Those phrases that come at the end of the extra work you do. You really helped out a lot. I'm so glad you're here. It would have been tough without you. These sound like nothing but praise. And yes, they make you feel good. But they also do something else. Your mind starts to make this connection. When you go the extra mile, you get appreciation, and that makes you feel good. So you repeat the same behavior without even realizing it. When the next task comes along, deep down, you're not just accepting the task, you're accepting that feeling too. But there's a subtle difference here. It's easy to appreciate. The real challenge is turning that into tangible results. That's why some people are constantly praised, but they keep staying in the same place. Because what's most valuable to the system isn't moving that person to a different position, but ensuring they keep doing the same thing. Sometimes the applause you receive isn't proof that you've moved forward, it's proof that you've served beautifully right where you are. Here's the harsh reality. You're working extra hard, but you're not where you want to be. Why? Because at a certain point, you're seen as the person who gets the job done no matter what. And when that happens, the equation shifts. Instead of promoting you, keeping you in the same place becomes the easier option. Training someone new takes time. It brings uncertainty. So what can you do? Because we're not just identifying a problem here. If you don't realize this and take action, this cycle will continue in the same way. Number 1, how to set boundaries without saying no. In some situations, it's not about how you say it, but when you say it. This is where most people go wrong. They try to set boundaries after the work has already come in. But here's what really makes a difference: setting boundaries before the work comes in. For example, at the start of the week, you can set a simple framework. I have tasks I need to complete this week. If something urgent comes up, we'll decide together which one to tackle first. What does this mean? It clarifies this before the work even arrives, that you're already busy, and this small but important difference changes the entire dynamic. Number 2, demand your true value instead of just appreciation. Don't just smile and move on when your boss thanks you. During performance reviews, clearly state your request. I took on 3 extra projects last quarter. I want this contribution to be considered in the salary review. This way, appreciation no longer goes unrewarded. Your boss needs to understand this clearly. Assigning extra work creates a cost. Number 3, flip the roles within the team. If you're always the one saying yes, someone else will inevitably take on the role of saying no. Change that. The next time extra work comes in, stay silent. Don't react at all. See, as long as you stay silent, the boss will wait. Someone else will stay silent. Maybe they'll take the job. Or maybe the boss will reassess whether the task is truly urgent. A little silence can shift the responsibility of taking on the work to someone else and break the cycle. Number 4, leave the responsibility of prioritization to the boss. When a new task comes in, your job isn't to figure out how to fit it in, but to decide which task is the priority. To do this, be clear and direct. I currently have these tasks on my plate. You've added this urgent task. Which one do you want me to tackle first? This shifts the decision-making responsibility off your shoulders. The boss is the one who has to determine which task is the priority. You're simply presenting the tasks and your situation clearly. One final truth: you might think your boss has bad intentions because extra work keeps coming your way. But most of the time, the boss is just taking the easiest route. You accept it, others don't. The boss follows the path of least resistance. This isn't bad faith, it's human nature. But it's your responsibility to protect yourself, because no one will say no for you. And here's a secret: the extra workload has nothing to do with you working hard. The real issue is how you react, and how some people notice and take advantage of that. So why do some people constantly choose you, test your limits, and pile work onto you? In the next video, we'll explain the answer to this question. Now tell me, when extra work comes your way, do you really feel like you're gaining value, or are you just feeding everyone's habits?